Computer. Okay, brilliant. So, welcome, Heather. I'm really excited to interview you. I reached out immediately when you sent me an email to tell me that you're being interviewed for a magazine and that you're going to talk about Soul Awakening Academy and Quantum Holographic Echo Healing because that, as you just explained, has become your go-to modality with your clients.
Yeah.
So I thought, wow, I really need to get you on Zoom and just share your successes with QHEH for sure.
Mm.
And just off recording, you told me you love this modality. It's become your number one go-to with your clients because it fits in with your science background. So before we get into all the juice, just introduce yourself really. Tell people who you are, what you do, and where they can find you, and then we'll get into why you were drawn to this work.
Okay. Well, my name's Heather. Um, I am currently using QHEH as my prime modality at the moment. You can find me. I've set up since qualifying, since getting my certification last year. You can find me on crystal wave therapy. I call myself crystal wave therapy mainly because I love using my crystal pendulums. I do love using crystals as well. But the wave part for me is obviously that energy connection, that whole kind of like holographic energy, just all of it. Just I love, yes. So you can find me online, but I can work remotely, as we know this works all remotely as well. It's
So,
amazing.
yeah, I love that. So tell us about your science background because that's really interesting and the
Y-
transition into this.
Yeah, so for 35 years, I was a scientist. Started off as a radiation scientist. And it was, I just loved the environment, loved the connections and everything that came from that originally draw me into the science area. But having a connection to sort of physics side of it was fascinating because it's one of those things where I just learned that everything was connected. You can't see it, but you can see the impact of it. And I think that's what kind of also drew me into wanting to know more about molecules, atoms, etc., etc. And yet I was always an ecologist at heart. So my main specialism has always been about pollution in the environment and the impact of stuff. So that's how it started. And that's sort of, and then throughout my career, obviously, I progressed into, as well as being a researcher, and then became manager. And so then I had the connections to people. And then just throughout all of that time, just learning how people are connected as well, and how I use those sort of team management, people management skills. But just also just it just all made sense to me that everything was connected. And sort of alongside all of that, I've always been very spiritual. My background, my childhood, everything's always been very spiritual. And people always used to say, I don't understand how you can be spiritual and scientific at the same time. And it's like, but it's fine because I can see the logic, I can see the energy, I can see the connections. It just makes sense to me. Um, it just is. And it is hard to explain to people, but I keep sort of trying to explain it in the analogy at the moment. We're a bit like the human Bluetooth, the human Wi-Fi. You know, you can't see it, but you can feel it and you can see the impact of things. And that's how the energy is transmitted, and that's how it's working. Um, and so for me, using the pendulum as well was sort of my go-to tool for the last 30 years. So combining the idea of connection and pendulum, so I'm combining my spirituality with my science background, it just made perfect sense.
I love that. It's so exciting. I love it when we get like scientists or psychologists or, that
Mm,
field where normally it's because this work isn't mainstream or particularly, I mean, there is
yeah,
science to back up quantum energy, but just this level of, what we would class as spiritual
yeah.
energetic work, it's a little bit off mainstream, isn't it? So I just love it when people have,
Yeah, the whole thing is just so connected. I mean, I did a master's in spectroscopy, which was in colors and stuff like this. So everything has a wavelength, everything has a frequency. So it just it's exciting. It
I'm
just
I'm really excited for what QHEH the future
mm,
has for you, really, where it can take you. But what drew you to this course? Was it the pendulum? What was it about it? Was it the holographic?
It was the pendulum primarily. I think because I'd done healing in the past, but I'm not Reiki trained, but I knew I was a healer because I'd done healing. I'd done psychic work before, but again, never done any training. So it's kind of that moment of, and I'd always used my pendulum. I've just for my own, for myself and friends, if you like, and family kind of thing. It became a bit of a, not a gimmick, but it was that, can you find my keys kind of thing? Can you find this? Can you find that? And so, yeah, but I've always found it fascinating how to have that connection. And I was running a course on how to use my pendulum. Um, and my colleague said to me, "Oh, there's a course. I've just seen this course come up. It's a new one." And so I was like, "Well, that just makes everything I've done all in one place: the spirituality, the healing, the pendulum, the science, everything just all in one." It was like it was the perfect course for me, and it came at the most perfect time for me because I was wanting to leave my job after I'd had an illness or an operation, and I didn't feel like I wanted to go back to my job because I was just needed something different. So it was perfect timing.
Perfect timing as always. So tell us about your work and the client successes and how it's been working for you, really.
It has been amazing. It has been amazing. So I only qualified last July. I've not because I've been doing some other work as well because I work in a holistic shop, esoteric shop kind of thing for the majority of the time. I also run meditation groups. But I was dedicating at least 2 days a week to this practice to sort of do it. And I've had just over 20 sessions now. Um, 15 of them have been with 15 different clients. So I have had some clients that have been coming back. Um, and that has been really amazing because of those ones that have come back, I've seen real progress. And that is the biggest reward, knowing that it has had a positive impact on somebody and their way of life and what they're doing. So yeah, I've had clients that have come in. A lot of them typically come in with very similar kind of you end up finding lots of similar findings to do with, life purpose, confidence, self-worth, those net self-limiting beliefs, those negative beliefs. And then actually when you've started working with them, I've got one now that's left their job, set up a new business. I've got another one that has also uh, literally come completely out of their shell. They were so timid, if you, in a way, but now they are very confident. They're traveling. They're just a different, confident person. And another one has also now stepped out and setting up their own website and their own business that they're wanting to do. And also coming to me now for more just sort of generic coaching rather than the healing. They've got through their periods of grief, their lack of confidence and stuff, and now they're so even in 3 sessions, I have seen transformations beyond belief. And not only am I so happy for them that they've done that because they've listened and followed the work, but it just really reaffirms everything we're doing.
So tell me what a typical session might look like when you're using your QHEH
Yeah.
work or pendulum with a client.
So I typically this is not normally where I work. I normally work in a much more uh, it's a very calming environment. I'll have soft music on. I will have incense going if the client is okay with that. I'll have candlelight. I very much like to set the mood. I like to keep it very calm. But then and then connecting if we're in person, obviously still doing a heart-to-heart connection. I always do my own practice beforehand. I will connect with my spirit guides. I will also clear my chakras using the pendulum to make sure that I'm in balance. I will connect to my higher self. I will ask questions if, is my client feeling nervous? Are they going to be okay? Is there anything else I need to really kind of be aware of? So I do a lot of I do about half an hour preparation work beforehand. Then I will connect with my clients. And I usually will start with the pillar readings. So I usually do the card readings, and that is a really good way to just connect with the client gently. It's the cards I use. I'm a bit geeky. I use a deck called the Quantum Oracle,
Oh, fabulous.
but they are great for me. Um, and I use this deck, and it is just gentle enough for them to give us a starting point in where we're going with what the issue is on that day. We will discuss that reading in quite a lot of depth. I explain about what QHEH is. I've explained how my pendulum works for me. I demonstrate it all with them. Um, and they are brilliant. They just are very relaxed. They will just accept it. They trust the process. Um, and I usually do a very small meditation to ground them throughout it, at the beginning, and then throughout it, we're just drinking lots of water, keeping connection, just keeping it very slow and gentle. And then after we've discussed the reading, um, I will then use the workbook. And then I use the workbook. I have a copy that I've printed out and put into a folder for myself. I explain to them that I'm going to be muttering around and everything, but they're fascinated. And we work through the workbook stepwise. And they like that. They like that logic. They like the structure to it. I think it gives them, a lot of my clients that I find come to me are ones that are not sure about psychic stuff. They're not sure about whether it's based on any evidence or anything. So I think they actually kind of like workbooks and bits of paper and things that kind of look like they're doing something. And they're fascinated because every time there's been um, something that's come up that's very real and pertinent for them that they've connected to. And even if it's not theirs and it is ancestral, then um, again, they kind of are fascinated by that idea as well.
Yeah, because the workbook, as systemic as it can sometimes be a little bit like spaghetti junction, can't it? When you're and the pendulum is doing, it's relaying a story of the person's energy field that's causing the blockage.
Yeah,
And you could be going from a limiting belief to a physical, metaphorical physical symptom to a timeline. It could be a memory association. And you're thinking, where the heck is this taking me? This is not making any sense. But when you read it back to the client,
totally. Yeah,
can you
totally. It makes sense.
can you share a scenario?
Yeah, I've had ones where people have had sort of this lack of there's been one recently that it was sort of like a lack of their own self-belief, their own self-worth. There was it things that kept coming up were things like boundaries, control, and in within that there was like feeling that they were not good enough, that they weren't doing enough, nothing was right, all of those types of things. And it had also a timeline event as well. Um, and that linked to something to do with their father. And but it was actually the father's issue. So it actually then came out that, and it actually was 4 generations back that we've worked it out. That was 4 generations back, this issue. And that's why each lineage was behaving in a particular way and how now. And then to then find then what their treatment was to do with self-love and everything was just, and the color cleansings and everything all just was so correct for what it is. And I think that I've done that. Quite a few of the client stories have been where somebody is wanting like harmony or something has come up during the diagnosis stage. I'll find that at the end we're looking at harmony and things like this, or confidence and intuition, life purpose. And it's amazing how you are finding the diagnosis and then this treatment part matching exactly what's needed.
It's so fascinating, isn't it? But as long as you're a clear channel and you don't
Mm.
as therapists, we don't let our own judgments or our own lack of confidence and trust in the energy side, because you can feel like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah,
goodness, is this me?
no,
You know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you trust yourself. So you're obviously getting amazing results with this, which is fantastic.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I have got. I mean, I'm just trying to find my page. But yeah, I mean, I have had some really good sort of analysis of stuff. I try to look to see what comes up quite regularly, and the colors and things as well that come up quite regularly, and how they are relating to certain things, because I also want to go into the color therapy kind of side of things, because then you know what is associated with those colors much more clearly. Um, and it's quite often things like, with things like life purpose. I get a lot of the blues, indigos, violets for the life purpose side of it in their treatments. But then, when it comes to love and harmony, I'm getting the pinks and the golds, and it just is just like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't we?
I love that. I love that. What is the magazine again? This is it Psychic?
Psychic News. So it's a yeah. So it's a magazine that it is a sort of in the spiritualist world. Obviously, it's one that we sell in our shop, and it was actually one of those people linked to that magazine that came in and asked for a reading, and they were just blown away by it.
Really? Oh, that's
So
so
it was,
fascinating.
yeah,
Absolutely. Mad. So, like I say, I'm really excited for what the future holds with you and QHEH, because you are, you're so passionate about it. And, from a science perspective and an esoteric perspective, we are just energy.
yeah,
I think science actually, holds its hands up.
yeah,
Yeah, we are particles and waves of energy, and that's it,
yeah,
basically. So we are working in that energetic field and not necessarily the materialistic field. But as you say, the impact is in the material world. People change their life, they change their course of
totally.
direction, they change how they feel, they change how they relate to themselves and to the world. So that is the impact their energetic field,
Mm,
once it's freed up or the frequencies
mm,
raised or
mm.
changed, and they have that freedom to move towards what they really want in their life. So I'm really excited. So just let people know just one more time where they can find you.
So I can be found at crystalwavetherapy.com. I'm also on Crystal Wave Therapy _ UK on Facebook, and Crystal Wave Therapy on Instagram.
And you will be in Psychic News.
And I will be on Psychic News in the March issue, hopefully
Yay! Well,
soon on sale.
amazing. And thank you so much for this interview, Heather.
You're very, very welcome.